Okay, here's pulley video number 2. Now, again, it's unfortunate that the machines I have access to in this particular gym don't have the pulley systems exposed. I mean, it's good from a safety perspective and maybe a maintenance perspective in some ways, but for teaching purposes, it makes things a little harder. But I want to show you again another little example of what I was talking about in terms of how the force can be changed depending on how the pulleys are set up. Okay? Now, I'm not going to explain the configuration of the pulleys in here because it might be hard to visualize without actually seeing, but I'm going to show you again something you can think about to help you understand how much force you're actually having to overcome whenever you move one of these weights. This one is different from the row machine I was on earlier. I'll show you what I mean. Again, you know, you have a cable up here and you pull down and it moves a certain amount. And how much does the weight stack actually move? Well, if you remember, I said that work is force times distance. So if we exert a certain amount of force, right, say 10 pounds of force over a foot, right, then that's 10 pound-feet of work. Or is it foot-pounds? I can never remember the order it goes in. So the same amount of work has to be done at this end, but depending on how much weight there is and how the pulleys are set up, this weight stack might move a different amount from the cable, and in fact that's exactly what happens here. So let's say I pull this down 6 inches, right? That's about 6 inches. Again, I'm going to pull it the same amount, but now I'm going to point the camera down at the weight stack. Try to look at what happens here. That's 6 inches on the cable, but it's only about 3 inches on the weight stack. Why is that? Well, due to the way that the pulleys are set up inside the machine, this weight is going to move half the distance that the cable up there moves. So that is to say that the weight I'm feeling on the cable is half as much as this weight. If this is, let's say it's on the 4th plate, so if that's 40 pounds, it means I'm pulling only with 20 pounds on that cable up there. So that might be important to know. Some cables, when you try to do an exercise, you know, they feel a lot easier than other times. You go onto a different cable and you go, oh my God, why is that so heavy? Well, it's likely because the pulleys are set up differently. And you can see, you know, a pulley in here, and if we could take the shroud off, we can maybe take a look at how those things are wired up or connected, and possibly, you know, try to get a better understanding of why that force does that. But for now, I think it's good just to take a look at this and see that in some machines, because pulleys get set up different ways and the force gets split or doubled, you can change things up. What we have happening here is a situation where the weight only moves half as much as the cable, which means that the weight is getting split in half in terms of what we feel up here at the cable. I'm pulling down with about 20 pounds. I moved this thing about a foot. This only moved about 6 inches. Take a look at it, play with it. I'm not just making this up. Try to experiment with this in the gym. Hopefully, you know, you'll start to see it, and it'll just be one more element of exercise that's not as much of a mystery anymore. And it can give you some insight into what's really going on whenever you're doing your exercises. A little bit better understanding of resistance and how it might change depending on how the machine is designed. So thanks for watching, and as always, keep giving me, you know, feedback or any kind of any suggestions on things you want to see or things I can improve. I'd be happy to repeat these because it's a learning process for me too. But hopefully you got something out of that. So sometimes the amount of weight you feel on the cable is not the same as the weight on the stack. That's an important thing to remember. The weight is not always the resistance. In fact, it almost never is. So think about that, and see you next time.